Alrighty. What is going on? It's your boy Almighty. Today we'll be doing a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1 and 2 discussion. I'll be planning on doing Part 3 and 4 possibly next week, maybe the week after that. We'll see how schedule's looking. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're unsubscribed, what are you doing? It's free. Hop on. The Fishmixx family, we about to blow up. What you doing? Don't fall behind. But yeah, before I even hop on into it, I'm gonna let some people get up in here and discuss it. Gonna start, of course, with Jonathan Joestar, one of I wouldn't say like my favorite Joestar, but I would say he's pretty up there for me. I enjoy Jonathan's story, though he kind of gets a lot of flack from people. I see a lot saying like part one's very boring or it's very like lackluster or whatever. Everyone's entitled to their thoughts. Me personally, I always felt it was pretty enjoyable, and he's all like his honorable ways is just like I don't know. I just that always just stood out to me. Him as a character, I always liked that about Jonathan Joestar. And so like I'd also say like some of like well okay, let me just go episode by not really episode by episode, but I'll go. So it's just in the very beginning, like seeing how the card is like crashed, and I forget what Jonathan's dad was named, but he ends up being saved or whatever, and he owes Diego Brando his life, and he tells him like if you ever need something, come and so Diego sends Dio, blah blah blah. We all know how that goes down. Dio starts living there, but he's like a little shithead, and he's always like fucking with Jonathan, JoJo, and just doing shit like to mess with him. And I always thought that was just like, damn, what's Dio's problem? Like, what's up with that? But me personally, I'm always someone who enjoys a good villain as well, and just seeing the way Dio was and how he just like pure hatred and just always doing stuff to get over on JoJo. He kissed old boy. He kissed Arena. That was Granny. Yeah, Arena. Well, she's not even Granny Arena yet, but Arena. He kissed Arena just before JoJo could do it, just on some evil shit. So I always enjoyed like Dio, just like his character, just for how evil he was. I always thought that was interesting. Oh, Jonathan's dad was George. Okay, okay. Yeah, and Dio was definitely a menace. But Jonathan, not like one of my favorite JoJos, but I've always enjoyed Jonathan. I've always thought Jonathan was an enjoyable JoJo's though. Like there's not a JoJo I follow because I'm all the way in part six still reading, but there's not a JoJo I've experienced that I just did not like or just did not like feel them. You know what I mean? I think it's either between Jonathan or Josuke. Those are like my least favorite ones, but those are still like great JoJos. Like those are still like great JoJos. I don't know. So, moving into more so Jonathan's like story. So in the beginning, when he first meets Speedwagon, that's when he really stood out to me. When I really love Jonathan's character, when he's in that back alley or whatever, that really dangerous alleyway, looking for the medicine for to help his father. He's looking like for an apothecary or something, right? And he's like getting jumped by those men or whatever, and he's like using his bare hands and shit while they're using knives and stuff like that. And then Speedwagon notices it, and there was a point JoJo Speedwagon had like a spin hat or something, and JoJo he could have like easily like taken out Speedwagon, but he was like he didn't. He spared his life, or whatever. So he tells everyone else there to respect him. Da da da. So him and Speedwagon become cool, I guess. And one of my first notes I put in here was, bro, Speedwagon's commentary throughout the show, throughout the very first, there's part one. Pay attention to the fights and everything that's going on when something starts happening. Speedwagon's commentary is hilarious. Like he's like it's goaded. And Jonathan, I even put that Jonathan was most noble Joestar, and I also love how like dramatic like that part one is, like how dramatic everything is, and a lot of that carries over into like part two as well. How like everything's like really like and the colors change. I just love like the whole color scheme and like the music, everything in JoJo's is just like it's fantastic. The score is fantastic. Um, Ham-on overdrives, interesting that I like that when it's introduced in part one, but then seeing into part two how that's like JoJo's only move, the Ham-on overdrives. I'm like, oh come on, but he's really witty, so I'll give him that. But in part one, you also see how unstoppable Dio is. Dio Brando was no joke. Dio is dangerous, and he came back a couple times. And it's like when JoJo, I've seen this all before, but when I came back and was watching this, doing this rewatch again, and seeing how JoJo finished him off the second time, and he like at the castle, he like ends him, and Dio's falling, and he's just ahead or whatever, right? And old boy comes and the little Asian vampire dude comes, Hong or whatever his name was. That wasn't racist. I thought that's really his name. I think it's like Hong or something. I'm not being racist. I'm not whatever. So he ends up picking up Dio's head and saving him or whatever, and coming back later after JoJo on the I mean Jonathan on the boat. I thought that was crazy. I thought that was crazy how he still survived just as a head. Like, but like from what we've seen of vampires, you can regenerate. So I was kind of confused on how Dio didn't just make his own body reform again. But interesting. Yeah, Jonathan was definitely true, noble, just straight up gentleman. To that overdrive went stupid. Sunlight yellow overdrive. No racism, no racism. But yeah, the hammer on overdrives, I always thought those were pretty dope too. And so moving into the last part with part one, where Jonathan dies on the boat, February 7th, 1889, and Dio basically does like these eye lasers into his throat, and I'm just like, what the? So he can't breathe and do his Hamon techniques or whatever. But in the very end, he's telling Arena to go, and she ends up saving a baby and getting off the boat or somehow escaping, like surviving through, even though the boat is full of zombies or whatever. Like it was being overrun with zombies, but alright, like the vampires. But Arena makes it out safe with the baby, whatever. And Jonathan dies on that boat, and he's holding Dio, and and like in the anime, the art style itself changes to where he's just holding him and he's just gone, and it shows his date, his like death. I'm like, oh man, this hits. It just hits different. JoJo's Part One, it's just a perfect intro to this type of series to which you wouldn't truly be able to. I always feel like this when I watch it. You truly won't be able to appreciate JoJo's Bizarre Part One until you've watched the rest of the series, and you're just like, wow, like to where it all began here and led up to all this other stuff. It's beautiful. It is beautiful, bro. So moving into part two, which is one of my personal favorites because Joseph Joestar is definitely like he's my personal favorite Joestar. I love Joseph Joestar. Love him. So when it moves into Joseph Joestar, you come to see he's an Englishman who just moved to New York, and um, the story begins in autumn of New York, 1938, and JoJo, Joseph Joestar. Now we're talking about this JoJo. He was born in 1920. So from 1889, hold on, I'm not about to calculate that shit, nigga. Hold on. 18, no, wait, 1920 minus 1889. 31 years went by. What? Yeah, 31 years, okay. And so Granny Arena's raising Joseph Joestar. And so at the we come to find out when we're first introduced, he's there, he's helping like Smokey. Smokey just robbed him, the little black kid robbed him of his wallet or whatever, but he's getting beat up by the cops on some racism shit. Some true ass racist stuff. And I like how Arakai kind of like touches on that a little bit too in the series. And you see like these and the police actually look like kind of like pigs a little bit too. It's kind of funny how they did that. They're actually just being like, just downright, just being dirty, and like they're telling Smokey they're gonna let him go, but everything now they're getting a cut of everything he robbed. So I was like, oh yeah, they're about to get their asses kicked. There's no way these dudes are just gonna get off with this. So JoJo comes and he's telling him like the wallet was a gift and da da da. And him and Smokey end up being cool, and I like that. That was cool. I like that. And so from a flashback, you come to see Joseph at 13 saved Speedwagon in like a plane crash, to where like there were some hijackers on the plane, and Joseph just reading his comic, and I thought it was kind of fucked up. Like the hijackers like low-key whooped Speedwagon's ass, and Joseph just back there just in his book, just in his thing, reading it or whatever. He doesn't even want to deal with the hijackers, and then like they bust his face open with the gun, and he gets mad, and so then he ends up knocking out the pilot, and then jumping off this thing with the pilot and Speedwagon with a seat, and they survive. And then like you just see Joseph's bad temper even back then. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then seeing Speedwagon like older now and dealing with Strizo and Strizo like his Hamon monks or whatever, they go into the temple and Speedwagon shows these niggas all the stone masks, bro. So immediately I'm just like, bro, one stone mask turned Dio into a fucking ape. And he had a bunch of different underlings. So it's like you I don't know, bro. Like when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is about to be bad. This is about to be bad, bro." And then Strizo goes and kills all his own niggas and attacks Speedwagon. And I thought, like the way they did it, he kicked Strizo. I mean, Strizo kicked Speedwagon. It looks like he just folded this nigga, just split his head open or something. And Speedwagon's just done, it seems like, or whatever. But it comes to find out, their bodies were thrown into the river. Strizo threw their bodies in the river because he saw all the blood was just being absorbed by the statues or whatever. And Strizo wanted to be the one in power. So he threw the bodies in the river so the blood wouldn't be absorbed anymore. And Speedwagon ends up getting picked up by like some Germans or whatever in the river. He gets being saved by them. And so, yes, I put this in my notes as well. Strizo, he doesn't want to age, so he takes a mask for himself because he envied Dio's beauty and like how like marvelous Dio was and stuff like that. And I thought that was dope. I'm like, oh man, even back then, Dio's influence is still running amok here, even though he's like kind of gone for right now. And so, the first pillarman to attack is Santaviento, and so it's kind of like we first start with Santiviento, and it kind of starts off as like it's like a power thing, you know. And Santiviento was cold, nigga, low key. He was kind of cold. Like he was like he first comes out of the pillar, and he's just observing everything while he's in there, looking at all the like all the Germans have him trapped, and Speedwagon's flipping out. He's like, bro, get us out of here. We're all gonna die. This is gonna be it. We're all gonna die. Like, um, and I felt him. I was like, bro, I don't know why these niggas think Santiviento is gonna be like playing with these niggas. I don't know. JoJo really loved Dio too. Yeah, that's what hurt. Joseph is that nigga like 41 year, 31 year. Strizo is ugly as shit, but Dio ran deep. Yeah, Dio, Dio's influence just ran deep. So seeing how like Santaviento could like he takes all the bullets. He takes like all those German soldiers like they shot at him, and he sends them all back. Um, but Joseph has like But Joseph, before that, he takes like a tuft of hair from the German dude, Stroheim, and he like uses Hammond infused hair as a barrier to block the bullets come flying at him from San Viento. And I'm gonna note this right now. A lot of these abilities we see throughout the series, especially well, okay, I don't know about in part one, the Hammond overdrives, that was mainly Jonathan's like thing he was doing. A lot of the Hammond stuff we see in part two, you don't ever see it again. You'll see a technique or whatever, like this Hammond Barry, you don't see that again. There's a lot of stuff you don't see again, so just gonna point that out. Not a big deal, I don't really care. I was like, I thought it was interesting how we get all these different techniques that you, you just don't see again. So, Santaviento can crawl inside of niggas' bodies. And so that had me oh yeah, it had me tripping. So he crawls through the vents, and then like they notice like bro, he's gone. They're looking at the footage. He's like he crawled through the vents, and like the Stroheim's looking at one of his soldiers like, hey, get away from those vents. It's dangerous. Santaviento comes out and crawls into one of Stroheim's like niggas, and he's like ah. The nigga's screaming. The nigga's in his body. So I was freaking out. I'm like, oh shit, nigga. Imagine if that nigga Santiviento just crawled inside you through your dick. He's just in your meat. Think about that. That nigga's in your dick. Just I was scared. I was like, yo, this is scary. I would not want to fuck with Santiviento. I wouldn't even be fighting him. So you come to find out, like also the Speedwagon Foundation helps mankind, but it's also secretly looks for the secrets of the Stone Mask. I thought that was pretty dope too. Speedwagon's like initiative secretly was to do that, and they end up beating Santaviento or whatever because like the German nigga helps or whatever. And he sacrifices himself and he literally blows himself up with a grenade. But I thought that was funny as fuck. He blows him. He literally blows himself up. And Santaviento's still alive, even after being like he crawls inside the German nigga's body, blows up. Even in the sunlight, he's still alive. And they go flying towards the well, but the sunlight in the well refracts the light, and it kills him or whatever. And Joseph doesn't let the water touch Santaviento. Okay, cool, whatever. And then we go into meeting like Caesar, and he's over here kissing bitches. Caesar's over here kissing hoes in the mouth. He's at the dinner. And then Joseph trying to do some slide shit and hit him with like some spaghetti or pasta or whatever, but it doesn't hit him. He blocks it with Hamon too and sends it back at JoJo. So I thought that was pretty dope. And they kind of get into a scuffle with the whole like Joseph's like, I bet you can't beat a pigeon. And then he's like, I bet you can't even beat this girl or whatever. And then like she ends up choking out and beating on JoJo after Caesar kisses her. He gives her a Hamon kiss. Caesar gives the girl a Hamon kiss. She ends up beating on JoJo, and while she's beating on him, he stuffed a pigeon in her mouth. And Caesar goes to kiss the girl, and a pigeon flies at him and knocks him over. So, yeah. Very bizarre, I'll say that. At the very least, it was very bizarre. And from the initially, it kind of seems like Caesar, he seems like not essentially strong. Well, yeah, he has a lot more experience with his Hamon. He seems a lot more experienced and stronger with his Hamon than JoJo. And like I always thought it was funny, JoJo's observation hockey, he just always seems to know, like right when he's about to win, he knows exactly what you're about to say. He's always like, he's like, and I bet you're gonna say blah 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 blah, and then they say it, they're like, huh? And then they lose. And I thought that's always comedy. He always knows what they're about to say right before he wins. And oh shit, I just remembered. So I'm so glad I did notes on this. So when they first to go confront the Pillarmen, they have a Nazi homie named Mark, and he goes and picks them up because he's like on guard at the Pillar place, and he's taking them there. And on the way there, Mark is telling them about his girl. He has a little locklet of his girlfriend, his little German girlfriend. He's like, yeah, this is my last week here. He's like, and then I get to go back, and that's my fiance. I'm gonna propose to her. We're gonna get married. And then everyone's like, oh, okay, good for you, Mark. Da da da. You're doing your thing. Da da da. Nigga, as soon as they show up to the Pillarman shit, they look, and JoJo's like, bro, I stepped in something. And he's like, what the? That's not. That's not a. You know, that's not. He thought it was bat shit or something. Oh, that's a person. They're looking like, oh my god, these are. It's a bunch of niggas just dead, just sucked out dry. And so, no homo. And so then, Mark's like, oh my god, they're gonna kill us all. He starts running, and then JoJo's and all them like, bro, what are you doing? The killer could still be in here. And so they kind of like go after Mark a little bit, and they look, and he stopped in front of three pillar niggas. And I'm just like, oh shit. And I didn't even remember this scene when I was watching it, but then like the pillar niggas just start walking forward, the three of them, and the dude on the end, I think it's Wamu. It's the dude on the, it's Wamu. Wamu on the end, he's just walking and he just shoulder bumps fucking Nazi boy Mark. Just bumps him. Half of Mark's body's gone. He just, nigga walked right through him. He walked right through this nigga Mark. I was screaming. Bro, I was screaming. He walked right through this. He walked right through this nigga Mark. Like half of homie's body's gone, and they're just holding him. He's like, Mark, no, bro. That shit was comedy. I was crying. I was crying. That shit was funny. Walk right through him, and then later they're leaving. Like the three pillar. I thought this was hard too. They're leaving, and then like the leader, cars. They're walking out. And cars, as they're going, like Wamu's standing there, and he's like bowing to them. He's like, "Welcome back, my masters," or whatever. And then it's like, well, "Welcome back, Wamu. It's been long. Let's go see the outside world." And they're walking past Wamu. The leader steps inside of Wamu's shadow. Wamu just attacks, nigga, just, and the nigga jumps back. I thought that was so hard. He dodged it, and then the other dude's like, "What is this? Outrage, Wamu? What are you doing attacking Eddie DC or whatever. I'm gonna fuck his name up this whole video. Eddie DC or whatever his name is. I can't get his name right. But he's like, what are you doing, Wamu? And he's like, he's like Eddie DC, stay your hand or whatever. He's like, that was my fault. You can't step in Wamu's shadow. His warrior instincts are like so advanced. Like he's so trained that anyone like behind him or in his shadow or whatever, he just instantly attacks if you're in his shadow. I thought that was so hard, and I was really hoping we would see that again in part two, but we didn't. We don't see that again. Like anything involving like stepping in his shadow. I was like, oh damn, I thought that'd be so tight. That was hard. It's just the whole intro for these Pillar Men is just hard. And so moving on from then, they get into it with the Pillar Men. And then basically JoJo ends up with like the rings, like the poison rings and stuff. Like that's the only way he manages to like survive. They give him like 30 days, like a month of training to come back and face them. And so they go and train with this Caesar's master, Lisa, and they're going up the pillar wall. I thought that was insane. That pillar wall shit was insane to me. um, I heard his observation hockey was because of the potential stand power, Hermit Purple. What did Hermit Purple do? I don't even remember. I'm trying to remember. Well, I'm trying to remember what it did because I don't remember it doing anything like anyone else. It was just like the vines, and it could like mess with like technology and stuff or whatever. I remember Hermit Purple doing that. I don't remember what the stand could do in part like three. But yeah, Wamu's hard body. Cars is hard body. I didn't really care for ACDC. ACDC. I'm calling him Eddie ACC. ACDC, like the band. I should have been able to remember that. I think that's the band. ACDC, something like that. So on the wall, I thought it was crazy. Caesar was using like sticking and splitting Hamon to attract and repel through the barrier of oil on the climbing pillar. And I'm like, this is another again like another thing we see in here. I wanted to see again in battle or something. That's sticking and repelling Hamon, but then we see it and it's just like to cure Susie Q, like to get ACDC out of her body after JoJo kills him or whatever. He's like partly alive and he ends up in Susie Q's body. I thought that was tight, but I'm like, that kind of sucks. I seen that like I don't know, a lot of strategies I wanted to see again. And one of the coolest episodes though was Stroheim. When he returns and he's fighting cars. That was dope. And he's like folds his arm over and pinches Car like a piece of pinches Car's hand. I thought that was dope as fuck. And then like JoJo's like running, they're running off to the stone. Him and Cars, and he's about to slide off the ledge. That was so dope, so dope. I love that episode. So dope. One of my favorite episodes. Hermit Purple took spirit photos, so it had like psychic powers to see things Joseph couldn't. Apparently that's why Joseph had vines around him in the OP Bloody stream. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay. Arakai had it all planned out. That's good. I like that. Um, oh, and I thought this was dope when Cars landed from because he doesn't end up with the stone or whatever. Joseph uses the Hamon icicles and Caesar uses some asshole and they connect him like a rope and pull him back up. And Cars falls to the bottom and he bounces himself off and bounces to the bottom. And he landed on his fall he landed when Cars landed he dodged squashing some flowers. I love that nigga Cars, bro. I love Cars. And he says, JoJo, you're a lucky one. I'll let you hold the stone for me for at least another day. Cars was cold. Cars was cold. I love him as a villain, bro. I mean, like, he's not as good as, like... Nah, I mean, I like Kira in part 4. But Cars is cold. I like a cold-ass nigga, too. I do like a cold-ass nigga. Dio's the coldest one. It has to be Dio... But Cars went out like a hoe though. I'm not gonna lie. It was on some weird ass. I mean, it was some plot shit. I'm not gonna lie. That was some plot shit. That wasn't really on him. I look have to go Dio, Kira, then Cars. Low key, low key, low key, low key, low key, low key, low key. Diavolo, he's not really up there for me. um, and then when they move forward or whatever. See, you come to find out Caesar's past with his family and all. I thought that was pretty dope. Like the whole Zeppeli line, his dad disappeared, but his dad was trying to stop the stone stuff too and protect his family. and like he ends up saving Caesar at the last second, and Caesar doesn't even like he knows it's his dad, but his dad doesn't even recognize him after all those years. But he just saved him, and he told him to go find like Lisa and all that without even knowing who it was. I thought it was dope, and uh, I didn't like. I mean, I understand Caesar's plight about his whole family, and like this is like his thing. You know, I understand like. But you're taking it, you're making it, it seemed more so, it strictly was just revenge. And it's like, that will blind you. Revenge will blind you. And when they knew the hideout where no, not ACDC, he's already dead, where Cars and Wamu are staying, he wanted to go there during the day because they thought it would be smart to go during the day. And I kind of understand with that. I agree with that. It's kind of smart to go during the day. But at the same time, JoJo's like, I don't want to go because Cars is not dumb. He's lived for thousands of years, and you think he doesn't have a plan to survive during the? He doesn't have like precautionary things to survive during the day. And Caesar just gets mad, and he's like, "No, this is our thing. We have to go. Like, stop being scared, JoJo." Da da da. And he's telling Caesar, "You're being a madman. Like, that doesn't make any sense. We need to just think something out, think of a plan." And so Caesar storms ahead to like check it out, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, he goes and like the monk dude goes to stop him before Lisa and JoJo go, and Lisa tells JoJo this whole background and story, and they get there and Caesar and the fight was Caesar and Wom was pretty dope too. I love that bubble cutter versus the divine sandstorm, so hard, so hard. So they're going at it on the outside too, and Wamu has let me see, I have it in my notes. Wamu has the ability to be in sunlight because he controls wind, and he used the vapors in the air to refract the light off of him. So it was kind of like the light would come, but it wouldn't hit him or whatever because the wind was. I thought that was dope. Wamu was so fucking ill, bro. Even as a fighter, he was just a genius. And Caesar wasn't able to inflict a little bit of damage, and then and Wamu dips into the castle. I didn't like this for Caesar. It just didn't make sense, bro. Like he inflicted a little bit of damage, and then Wamu and he goes in after Wamu, but Cars was supposedly there as well anyway. So even if you had been able to defeat Wamu, Cars is in there. And you don't know how many niggas they have with them. So it's just like Caesar, you weren't thinking at all. You weren't thinking at all. That's like the dumbest thing to just go in there with no backup at all. And the monk dude just got taken in there. So and he wasn't running in there like to I have to save instructor whatever. That's not how it was either. That's not how it was. When you go back and watch it, he wasn't like that at all. When he goes in there, he sees the instructors already laid out with an arm, like his arm was already taken out outside. But it's just like he didn't run. I'm just like, oh fuck, bro. Like it just sucks. It just sucks seeing that for Caesar. I'm like, if you had just waited, y'all all could have tried to take down Wamu. Caesar versus Wamu did go. Yeah, the Archives fight game is it's a nutty. It's crazy, bro. That monk nigga got folded. Logs or Massini. Logs died first, and then this one was Machina or whatever. He was the second one who had his arm taken off, but he lived at the end. Cause he's even at JoJo's funeral at the end. JoJo's funeral, fake funeral. Damn, bro. So I was just like, damn. When Caesar went out like that, if he had just waited, bro, I really do think Caesar would. He definitely would have survived. He had just waited for Lisa, and JoJo. Um, Lisa states that she was telling JoJo she was saved by Arena as a baby while Arena was pregnant, and she was raised by Strizo. And they end up making the deal with Cars and Wamu to fight one on one. And so JoJo gets his one on one fight with Wamu, and I really did respect how JoJo he got the antidote, the Wamu antidote, because Caesar his last bit of Hamon he used that to save the antidote for JoJo. And JoJo has it, but he doesn't take it until he wants to take it after he fights Wamu and defeats him. I was like, that's dope. That's dope. And him and Wamu do the chariot fight, and JoJo grabs the hammer. Bro, this was so crazy. Wamu, this is why I love Wamu. Even every time we see Wamu just doing dope shit. JoJo in this pillar race, they're running around, and JoJo grabs the first weapon. It's a hammer. It's a sledgehammer. Wamu grabs a fucking pillar. He uses his arm and just breaks off the pillar where the zombies are hanging from there, passing off weapons. He takes the whole fucking pillar with his arm, smashes it and holds it, and it smashes JoJo's chariot with it. So dope. So dope, bro. Wamu's just so dope. That gladiator fight is one of my favorite fights in all of anime. Yeah, same here, bro. It's so memorable. That sledgehammer swing, yeah, it's crazy, bro. And then JoJo ends up like pulling off some shit in the fight, and Wamu gouges out his own eyes because what did JoJo do? He was about to run JoJo over with the chariot, and JoJo went to slam, but at the same time he used the reins, the Hamo and the Hamon and used infused reins, and he infused the reins with Hamon that are controlling the horses, and he wrapped them around Wamu's arms as he's doing the sandstorm, and it ripped Wamu's arms, and Wamu's just riding around just like in shock, like wow, his pride just hurt, and then he gouges out his eyes and comes back, and uses only his senses in the wind and stuff, and he fires a 180 iron ball from they get crossbows as their next weapons. Wamu does a 180 shot because JoJo's farther from him around the stadium. It 180s and flies and hits JoJo in the side. The nigga falls. Bro, it was so dope. So dope. In the arena. And so, and I love it. I noticed at the end of that episode too, um, the outro music even be changing sometimes when shit is just getting crazy. The outro music be changing every few episodes. So dope. JoJo's Bizarre. They just put so much work into the anime. I love it. I love all the little stuff they do, all the little details. And so near the end of their fight, Wamu did the atmospheric rift, and JoJo pulls out like a random firebomb, like a Hamon firebomb out of his ass, and Wamu of course destroys it and it hits the ground, and his rift is inhaling air and like spinning it back, but it's like super sharp, so like JoJo and Wamu still can't see, so he's like spinning his air shit and it's about to cut JoJo, and he pulls out the scarf, sees the scarf, and he throws it at Wamu, and he sets it on fire. And Wamu like cuts it up, and then like the scarf is on fire. Little bits of that mixed with little Hamon oil fire stuff, and then that Wamu doesn't even know he's all inhaling, and blows him up, and all that's left is his head. And they like, bro, this is one of the best like parts of the fight. Like not even the fight itself, it's the very ending of it, to where you kind of see like traces of JoJo being just like Jonathan Joestar, where he's just as honorable, and like for example, when he's paying respect to Wamu with his blood, he's like, "I know you're gonna die. Like the explosion was too much, but to ease your pain, I'm giving you this is my blood. So as you go out, so dope, so dope." And then like Wamu, the zombies are like, "Well, kill him!" All the zombies jump out into the arena. They start running at JoJo, and Wamu uses his last bit of his strength and his horn. He kills all the zombies running at JoJo, and and then he tells JoJo, he's like, "I want you to take the antidote before I fade away. I want to see it, and I want to see you. Just the same respect they were giving each other as warriors. It was just so dope. But Cars, I mean, truly, I love a cold ass, just evil nigga. I love a true warrior, but Wamba wasn't like a true. I mean, yes, he was the villain, but he wasn't like he was a villain. Like he was a warrior. He was a warrior, and he was just following orders. Cars is a cold ass villain, evil, just dirty nigga. Like as soon as Wamu's gone, he's just like, yeah, he was too pure of a warrior soul. And they go to a flashback to where he ordered Wamu to kill some kid or whatever. And Wamu's like, but he's defenseless and da da da, this and that. But he's like, but these Hamon users can't. And Cars is telling him, like, but Cars is telling him, he's like, these Hamon users can't be allowed to live. They can't be allowed to continue and da da da. And he's like, if you won't be able to, if you won't do it, I'll be the one to set an example. And he slices the little kid open or whatever. And Wamu just didn't do it. He tell JoJo, he's like, throughout my life, I always follow my own code. I always follow my warrior's code. Immortality, it never mattered to me. I love Wamu, bro. When Wamu died, bro, fuck. Wamu went so hard, bro. Went so hard. And and also when at the end when all this happens, Cars, he takes out his horn now. He takes out his hair, looking like a sexy ass nigga. And then next is Lisa versus Cars. And so when they go up against each other, I thought this was strange at first. It's like she senses no violence from Cars. And so they like go at it, and so when he goes at her, he disappears like a flashlight. He disappears, and then everyone's like, "What the fuck? Where did Cars go?" And when he reappears, Lisa beats him with her scarf, her little Hamon infused scarf, and like he's like defeated or whatever, like easy as fuck. And then like we're all thinking she won, and then a blade is in Lisa Lisa, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck? What the fuck? That was insane. So like what we've seen from Cars and Wamu is just dope, but ACDC was just a letdown, bro. It was so sad. ACDC was definitely a letdown. And oh yeah, so the blade inside Lisa Lisa's chest, I was like, no way, how? And then you see like little Cars used a clone, like a little zombie, and he was using that nigga. And then Lisa Lisa didn't sense violence from him because he never planned on fighting her squarely. He never planned on fighting her like, fairly or anything. Like I just thought that was so dope. Cars is just so evil, bro. He's telling like, bro, I never planned to fight fair. Put a blade in her. Then like he took it like her and attached like this rod to both of her legs. I was like, oh my god, Cars is crazy, and like hang her from a string. Love that nigga Cars. And then Stroheim saves the day with the UV lights. Well, I thought he did, and his army. And then Speedwagon Foundation was there too, and they're all there with the lights on them fighting the zombies. And Cars says like he believes like the ends justify the means, and he views all his men as pawns. And then he even picks up Lisa Lisa and starts using her as a guitar. Bro, I was rolling. It was just so random. He's using her legs and just playing the guitar. I'm like, what is wrong with this nigga Cars? That was hilarious. And so little black kid Smokey, he knows that Lisa Lisa is JoJo's mom, but JoJo doesn't know that yet. And so when when Cars falls off onto the spikes or whatever, no one put UV lights on that nigga and tried to end him. Like no one, and the German niggas are just there laughing and cheering and shit, thinking it's over. The nigga puts on the mask with the stone in it and becomes a perfect being in front of everyone. JoJo runs, and the nigga's hand literally turns into a squirrel and kills niggas, and then it runs back onto his hand, like onto his body, turns into a flower, and then back into a hand. I was like, yeah, Cars is different. It's over. Sunlight had no effect on Cars. It said in there, Cars is now a perfect being. He is invincible. He doesn't age, can't succumb to death, has the abilities of all life forms, and can outperform them. And he was doing that. He was changing into birds and other creatures, whatever. And of course, JoJo did his ultimate move. Nigga ran. Nigga took off running. I was crying, bro. It's the funniest shit. I don't know if that's gonna be my thumbnail or the thumbnail of Cars when it has like the description of like it has his forms and it has all these little different like Chinese like letters talking about his like being the perfect entity. I'm probably gonna use the Cars one. That shit is so dope. And so seeing JoJo run away and all this like little ass pull shit, it was funny though. He's like JoJo jumps off a cliff and he jumps into a plane, and then Cars sends like feather bullets at that plane, and like the bullets in there like they go like they're hitting JoJo and like cutting him up a little bit, and like the feathers that are inside the plane they start turning into like piranhas and biting JoJo, and like some of the feathers on like that are attached to like the plane turn into like octopus tentacles, so it starts wrapping on the plane. It was so crazy, and so um it was kind of reminiscent. Like Cars' abilities remind me of like him having a stand, like somewhat like Giorno's, like with life and stuff like that, and like I don't know, it was just like Cars and stuff he was doing. All this stuff seemed like kind of like a foreshadowing to the stuff we're gonna see in part three with like stands, but I don't know, kind of like just me, like. And he ends up cutting off JoJo's hand and hits him with a Hamon attack on JoJo's leg that starts melting like JoJo's leg. I thought that was crazy, but I mean JoJo comes back later and his leg was fine, so I was like, all right, whatever. But like that, like Cars having Hamon now too, I thought that was insane. And then we got the Cars flashback, which is so like it was so brief, but like so dope and showing like a little villain like origin story, just like how he became to be. Just a few minutes, and it just like showed everything we needed to see about Cars, and it was just crazy, bro. Seeing how like other vampires feared him because he invented the mask, because he wanted to be like a greater being, and he had to, but because of using the mask, he had to feed more because of it, and that's why the people feared him. So they revolted against him, and Cars killed everyone, even including his own parents. That was so. Oh my God, Cars is so dope. And so Cars and ACDC took the surviving orphan vampires and left, which were Santiviento and Wamu, and they leave. and the volcano they were in while they were fighting him and JoJo or whatever, it erupts due to the hormone, and it blasts them upwards, and JoJo's arm at that time blasts upwards and hits Cars in the neck at the right moment, which JoJo planned out, and as it hits him and he's flying up, rocks start hitting him, flying him up into space, but the rocks aren't flying hitting JoJo at all. He's fine. He just falls back down to Earth while Cars gets sent up to space. Oh. And then yeah, it sends him to space, which I thought was kind of like weird. And then oh, that's all I have. Yeah, it blasts him out of space, and that was it for Cars. And he like he was half organism, half like something, like half like fossil. It said he's half organism, half fossil, and then over time he stopped, like he wished for death, and he after a while he stopped even thinking, and lost thought, and that was it. He was never to return, lost in space, and I was like, damn. So part two is ending, and it's like JoJo's funeral, which is in New York suburb in April 1939 now. And when did it begin? Hold on, when did I say 19? Oh, 1938. So a year it went by with all this stuff. Yeah, and that piece of rock JoJo was on, he fell in the ocean. Oh yeah, so after the funeral, you come to find out the piece of rock he was on fell in the ocean, and a fishing boat picked JoJo up. And Susie Q nursed JoJo back to health for 2 weeks in Venice, but she never sent a letter to his family to let them know. That's why they had a funeral. Susie Q is so dumb, but she's sexy. I would say Susie Q's sexier than Lisa. I don't care. And then there's just even at the very end of the part two, we see JFK Airport, 1987, and Joseph Joestar was he was born in 1920, so yeah, he was what 67, 67 now. Seeing older him in the airport saying how he hates the Japanese, it was just so dope. So JoJo's part one and two. Part two is definitely one of my favorites, bro. Like I mean, part two might not be my favorite in particular, but Joseph Joestar is my favorite Joestar. I love him, man. I love him. The story is just great. I will never forgive the Japanese. So funny, bro. So funny. So when we cover I'm definitely gonna do hop into part three and part four next week. If not next week, the week after that, because that's a lot to watch. Part three is a lot, and then watching all the entirety of part four as well. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts. I just loved like how the just wanted to break it down like the part one, part two. I just always thought it was so dope how um like how they how they have the story like broken down, and just getting into part three knowing it's about to be about Dio and like stands and stuff. I can't wait to talk about this. I can't wait to have like a full on JoJo's. I'd say do part three and four separately. Yeah, maybe I'll do part three and four separately. That's a lot. Yeah, that is a lot. Yeah, this is your boy Almighty, just doing a little discussion. I haven't talked on my YouTube in a minute, and wanted to cover JoJo's. I still need to do that Trojan X read through, which is coming soon. Um, what else did I say I was gonna do? Well, today's only Wednesday, so we do have the new One Piece chapter. I'll be doing a live stream when the chapter comes out tomorrow night. So if anyone's up at like it's gonna be midnight or probably later for some people on the East Coast, but yeah, the chapter usually drop for me out here in the West Coast around like 11, 12. So I'll be covering it as soon as it comes out. I'm not gonna wait until the morning after. Sometimes I do, but now I'm gonna see who's up this time and whoever wants to show up for like the live reaction when the chapter drops. And partly because I want to jump into Brago's video. But yeah, this is my little JoJo's discussion. Until next time, y'all, for part three, I'm gonna do a separate video. It'll just be part three, and then I'll do part four its own part. So yeah, until next time, this is your boy Almighty. Make sure you like, share, subscribe if you like the video. Subscribe, it's free. What are you doing? What are you doing?